afternoon, Senators. My name is Kirsten Comperi, and I'm the Acting Dean of Students. I'm here to discuss with you some actions by President Liggins that I believe are actions that you all need to have some answers to, as well as ask some questions of him regarding the information that's contained in my complaint. Specifically, what I have outlined in my complaint are 8 different trips that Mr. Liggins has taken with using a state vehicle, which I've referred to as a fleet vehicle. The information alleged in my complaint discusses the 8 different trips that Mr. Liggins has taken, as well as some information that I thought was prudent for you all to be aware of. The location, the reason for travel, the number of miles that were driven were all taken from fleet vehicle forms that Mr. Liggins submitted in advance of that travel. The other information that's outlined in each one of those specifics within the complaint also outlines either some overages or underages that you will need to be aware of in terms of the trips that were taken.
Today I stand before you to defend allegations filed against me by Kirsten Comperi, the Acting Dean of Students, against me, the Student Body President, for misuse and abuse of association funds, as well as misuse and abuse of powers and privileges granted to association officials. Kirsten, an individual with no direct or indirect involvement with the SGA, its membership or its expenditures, is filing a complaint is procured to me coming from an administrator. I thought her and I would be allies instead of adversaries, considering our titles and roles. And just to take notice that the complaint is not even lodged by a student, and it's the students who we in SGA are supposed to serve, and I was elected to please and keep happy, not the administration. Administrations are supposed to serve students as we pay their salaries. The students aren't supposed to serve administrations, a good professor once told me. It would be a very ironic day if the day comes when an administrator was able to turn to students and get their own student body president. This complaint will make a lot more sense coming first and foremost from a student or someone in SGA, like the chair of the finance committee or the SGA business manager, as they're, or along with the president, as they're the ones constitutionally obligated to the expenditures of SGA. The funds in question are those charged to the SGA accounts in regards to traveling I've done in the spirit of SGA. In travel in the spirit of SGA, I was either attending event planning meetings on other campuses, doing volunteer work in Sioux Falls, or picking up SGA shirts in Yankee. There are a few other instances of travel as well, but no trip have I taken has had any negative intentions incorporated. I also see this as an attempt by the university to publicly embarrass me again for another attempt at raising the bar of student rights and abilities. Also an attempt to embarrass SGA again, as to create more doubt and to lower the confidence of our already unsure senators and students, and to prevent me from implementing positive change for Student Government Association and our constituencies.
I have a few questions for you about some of the trips that you have taken, specifically the trip to the Mount Rushmore Institute in Rapid City. It's the first one that I have a question about. The actual mileage that was shown for that trip from the fleet vehicle form that you signed was 361 miles, when we would have expected a round trip to and from Rapid City and returning to Vermillion would be 814 miles, which gives us then a discrepancy of about 450 miles. Do you have any knowledge of where the vehicle was during that point in time?
Yes.
And where was that?
What happened in that situation, usually when you're doing traveling, everything usually go as planned, and usually you leave on time and you get things done like it's supposed to. Alyssa and I were to go to the Mount Rushmore Institute Leadership Conference in Rapid City, and we were supposed to leave on a Sunday. With the fleet office being closed on weekends, I had to pick up that vehicle on Friday. And then by the time Sunday came around, we decided to not use the vehicle and to travel with the larger group. So then I just turned the car back in to the fleet and never took it out to Rapid City. So the reason I had miles on it because I had picked it up on Friday because we were leaving on Sunday and we couldn't pick it up on a weekend. Or you couldn't access keys on the weekend. You had to pick them up during the weekday operation hours.
Okay, so from the time that you picked it up to the time that you returned the car, then you put 361 miles on that. Where was the vehicle then?
Specifically, I can tell you it was in my possession. With that trip being so long ago, I can't tell you exactly where I traveled, but I know I did pick up the car early because we were going to leave on Sunday, and then we didn't end up leaving on Sunday, and I turned the car right back in.
Yeah, I understand MapQuest is an estimate of miles, but there's the actual mileage you put on was 426 miles, and I mean, give or take 50 miles, there's still not 194 miles unaccounted for there.
I mean,
Explain a little bit of that, I guess.
Yeah, only thing I can say, I have to move from point A to point B. I'm not just in the area and go to one spot and then I'm there. Obviously, if you guys see those trips happen over days. 1 or 2 days, or et cetera, and so forth. So they're not just round trips where I went there, touched the border of Brookings, and then turned back around. Obviously, I have to eat, I have to sleep. We have to move from various locations, whether it be the South Dakota Union, whether it be one of the individuals' homes, or et cetera, or so forth. I'm not just stationary when I go up there, so I have to get around and eat and go to various places. Driving around those campuses, finding parking places, that's all just functionary mileages.
He had a flat tire, tried to get it fixed in Brookings, but it was after hours and couldn't get it fixed. Well, on looking at the vehicle after opening the trunk, I noticed the wheel was damaged because it had a notch set into it, a V-groove put into it about 2.5 to 3 inches from hitting something either real blunt on impact or something, and then drove the vehicle until the tire was ruined. So we took it in and had to order a new wheel, hubcap, wheel sensors for the car, and a tire.
One other thing that's peculiar is this complaint being lodged by an administrator. How do you feel about that?
The complaint being lodged by an administrator would be the main concern of the Student Federation. By far, with all due respect to your Dean of Students, this is an issue that should come from students and students only. At a lot of other universities, this sort of process would not even be allowed. South Dakota State University, the president of that particular organization is president or CEO of a registered 501c3 nonprofit corporation with the Secretary of State's office, and it would have to be a member of the corporation who could bring the articles of impeachment. Therefore, it would have to be a student. That's not a constitutional thing. That would be a South Dakota codified law thing. And so I would say in that case your state law would supersede our own individual constitution. However, that would be an arrangement that has been set up at South Dakota State University and at other student government associations across the country, because it provides that autonomy that's necessary for student government. I'm concerned as president of the Student Federation that if exec members of an administration can bring impeachment charges or could level impeachment charges, that's a threat to the autonomy of all the student governments in the state of South Dakota.
I do applaud Terry for his connections, and I applaud him for what he is doing with SGA. What I'm asking you to do this afternoon is to look at the facts that are in the complaint and ask some questions. That's my motivation for being here, is to get you all to ask some questions. As I stated earlier, I'm not arguing the use of vehicles, rather just questioning a couple of things related to them.
The SGA president should be treated and is given a little more respect and given a little more responsibility and given the ability to do and interpret things on behalf of the organization in which he or she presides over and the student body in which he or she is the official representative of. In the Constitution, the president is referred to as the chief executive officer. When will I start to be treated like one? These privileges of travel, if so granted, would not only be enjoyed by myself, but would be accessible to any student at USD. If I gain power, we all gain power.
We held a vote as to whether or not he was guilty, whether or not President Liggins was guilty of a misuse of funds. The vote tally was 16-1, and he was found guilty of the misuse. We then deliberated on sanctions. Many sanctions were discussed, and by a vote of 13-3, President Liggins was removed from office.